Maria Davis, a goal-setting coach that has been helping students and teachers achieve their goals for years, and I'm here to help you do the same. I believe life isn't about chasing after what you want. It's about accessing the unique power that's already inside of you so you can step into the life of your wildest dreams. If you're looking to do life differently, live a life that's designed just for you, make your dreams a reality, and ditch the hustle, then you're in the right place. My goal for this podcast is to give you tools, resources, and tips to discover who you are at your most authentic level, help you get back in the driver's seat of your life, and send you love and encouragement along the way. Welcome to It's the Audacity for Me. Hello, everyone. I hope that you are having an absolutely magical day. Thank you so much for tuning into our very first episode ever. Whether you're coming back after discovering the podcast or you've been here from the beginning, thank you so much. It really means the world to me personally, and everyone really that I'm able to reach because of your support. So thank you so much. In our first episode today, I want to discuss this idea of being trapped in the matrix. We hear about the matrix all the time and breaking out of the matrix. But what does that even mean? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and we'll discover ways that you can live in alignment with your purpose and live a more balanced life instead of rushing and hustling and trying to meet deadlines and all of these things that in a modern society a lot of people see as normal. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you some practical tips that can help you be a little more self-sufficient, finding ways to rely on yourself through growing your own food, or even finding ways to make money at home so you're not entirely relying on one 9-to-5 income source to keep you afloat. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so what is this idea of the matrix anyway? Well, according to Urban Dictionary, which is obviously a reliable and accurate source of definitions of all kinds, the term matrix describes a controlled environment or situation in which people act or behave in ways that conform to roles predetermined by a powerful person or persons who decides how the world is supposed to function. It goes on to say that living on or within a matrix may also be referred to as on the grid, with greater flexibility and choice available to those who venture off the grid. So, an example. After years of living a boring life, working 9 to 5 on the East Coast matrix, he relocated to Portland, Oregon, where he traded his car for a bicycle and started earning a living with his acoustic guitar. So, the reason that I've chosen to use the term matrix instead of saying off the grid is because I feel like it's a bit more descriptive. So, when I think of living off the grid, I think of being completely cut off from any modern necessities. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I think of those Alone in Alaska shows where there's just no access to modern conveniences, I guess, or even what we could consider modern necessities, grocery stores, power, electrical companies, water supplies. When I think of off the grid, I usually think of solar panels and water collection devices and things like that. I don't really picture someone that's using container gardening in their apartment to fight against the numerous concerns with and dependency on our food industry. So that little example of someone, doing a thing in their apartment with container gardening is one way that you can kind of fight the matrix, I guess, if you want to say it that way. It is for people who want to be in control of their lives. That's what the show is for. People that want to control their own schedule. Maybe not work a 9 to 5. Maybe the 9 to 5 life is totally for you, and I fully respect that. But maybe you just want a way to be more balanced and really integrate all of yourself into all of the different places that you show up for. You want to fully be yourself in every environment. Maybe, people who or, I want this show to be for people who want control over their food. If you want to be completely vegetarian, grow all your own vegetables, I think that's awesome. If you are a meat eater, but you don't really agree with factory farming and the way that animals are cared for, this is the show for you. I want to give you help and I want to give you tips for that. Um, and especially, this is the biggest thing. This is why I wanted to create this show. Um, for people who want to control how they spend their days and ultimately how they spend their lives. I want to give an example of driving down the road on the way to work one day, and it was pouring down rain, but my commute, I just have enough time to get there. I can't leave any earlier. It just is what it is. I can't really slow down in the rain. And I'm just thinking, how unfair is it that we live in a world where we're potentially risking our lives so we don't get in trouble for being 3 minutes late? How ridiculous is that? And my boss was totally fine. It was understandable, but it's just the point. I don't want to live in a world where I am stressed out about being 3 minutes behind for something. I want to live in a world where, I can have control over when and where I do things. And that's my hope for you guys too. So, as we go through this show, please feel free to send questions and comments because I would love to help you reach your dreams and reach your goals. But I'm getting a little off topic, so let me rein it back in and go back to that definition of being in the matrix, this system of working 40 plus hours a week and only having maybe 2 free days on your weekends to spend with your family, not having time to take care of the necessities like cooking, cleaning, going to appointments. All of that was designed by someone that didn't have your best interest at heart. Remember that definition said it was a controlled environment or situation where people conform to roles that were predetermined by someone more powerful. And your best interest isn't at heart here because we live in a capitalist society. So that's kind of a loaded subject. We're not going to dive into that rabbit hole, but I do want you to know that there's another way. We don't have to, work and work and work our whole life to maybe have enough money to retire and maybe live comfortably, because ultimately we're just living a life fueled by stress and worry, not by love and joy and happiness, all the things that I know we want in our lives. So let's talk about some other ways that we can combat this matrix or break free from this matrix. All right, so how exactly do we break out of this matrix? If we want to break free and live in alignment with our purpose, we kind of need to know what our purpose is. But unfortunately, there isn't one easy answer. Sometimes we serve more than one purpose. Spirituality, religion, and our belief systems are great places to get started, but I have some questions that you could consider to help guide you to identifying your purpose. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Are you on the path to reach those goals? If you are, does that excite you? If you're not, what is one little thing, maybe a daily habit, that you could do differently to start you on this path? Is there something that you're really good at, like your job? Is there something you're really good at, like your job, that maybe you don't enjoy? So you're really good at it, but you just don't like it. The key to finding your purpose is to identify where your passions and interests intersect with your skills and the value that you bring. So, for example, let's take coloring. Let's say you just love, love, love to color and you color all day long, you love it. but you're not very good at it. Sorry, but you color outside the lines and you're not very good at picking out colors. I don't know. I'm not saying any of you are bad at coloring, just the example I could think of. So, in that example, though, you probably wouldn't pursue a career or, pursue this purpose of being this master colorer or coloring artist. But let's take that same idea of, passions and interests combined with skills. So let's say you love sports. You absolutely love sports, can't get enough. You watch them, you play them, you love them. And you're also really good at them. You're really good at sports. You can bring some value to a team. So that's a good place where that passion and interest with skill and value where they intersect. So maybe you are pursuing your purpose as a coach or a mentor, or as you have a sports podcast or something, an after school program. There's so many things that you could do to really incorporate that passion and your skill set and create a whole life based around it, not just this 8-hour identity that you kind of put on and then you take off when you clock out. So that's the first step, is just identifying where your passions and interests intersect with the skills you have and the value that you bring. Next, in order to break out of this matrix, you're going to need to identify what your values and beliefs are. So very similar to the first example, but now you're really looking at what is it that you value. Do you value time with your family? Do you, do you believe that we need to be kinder to our planet? Do you value clean eating? Maybe you, there's all kinds of things that you can value or believe in, right? And so you need to really figure out, what standard will you operate from? What are non-negotiables for you? What are things that are really high on your priority list or your value list? Or, what morals are you coming from? So again, you can go back to, religion or your belief system, but ultimately, I just like to think of, what kind of person am I trying to be? I want to be kind. I want to be respectful. I want to be inclusive. I want to be loving. All of these things are where my values lie. So some other questions you can ask yourself: what are things that you find important, inspiring, and worth your time, worth your while? By really taking the time to focus in and think through or journal through your beliefs and your values, it's easier to identify the things that you don't want in your life as well. So when I identify what my values are, like I said, being a kind human, being inclusive, those are two things that are really important to me. And so knowing that helps me make decisions, set boundaries, and feel confident because I'm operating from a purposeful place. So a really good example of this is, let's say I'm out in public and I start talking to somebody and they immediately say something that is not very inclusive and not very kind. Immediately in my mind, I've set a boundary. This is not someone that I want to pursue a friendship with, or, just be friends with, because they don't share my values. And I don't think it's important. I think it's important to not box yourself in and only be friends with people that agree with you on every single thing. But when you really identify at your core what you believe in, it makes it much easier to set those types of boundaries. So there's that saying, when one door closes, another opens. And usually that's to kind of, help somebody feel better after a door has closed for them. But I want you to think of the perspective, the door has to close in order for you to see another opening. Maybe that door and it being open was blocking a possibility that you didn't know about. And that's really where mindset, emotions, and energy come in. And it's also where you really have to lean in and sometimes leap into opportunity. But the key here is knowing what you stand for and knowing those values, your morals, and your beliefs, because that will enable you to confidently leap into opportunity and know that it's the right decision for you and know that it's something that is in alignment with your purpose. So now it's time for some practical tips. What are some ways, maybe some little acts of rebellion you can do against this matrix or rat race or whatever you want to call it? The hectic busyness and hustle of modern life. So the first thing that I want you to do is forget that hustle culture was even a thing. Stop saving those memes that say like "wake up and hustle" or "grind till you die." I don't know if they're that extreme. They feel like that to me, but know that you are a human being. You need to rest and you need to hydrate and you need to take time for yourself. And don't let anyone ever make you feel bad about it because they're also human. And if they're not taking time to rest, they're probably pretty angry, which is why they're making you feel bad about it to begin with. So, some practical things, like I said, some little acts of rebellion against the matrix. Um, Obviously, there are extreme examples like going off the grid and homesteading and living in a van and things like that, which are totally fine. And I absolutely support them. And I hope to have more about that lifestyle and alternative lifestyles like that on the podcast. Through my own experiences that I'll share, and then I'd also love to have guests to discuss these different types of lifestyles and what the options are and the possibilities for you guys. But things as simple as just meditation and taking time for self-care and spiritual practice, that fights against this hecticness and busyness of life in modern society. When you take time to care for yourself and show yourself love, it is almost radical. And I want you to love yourself unapologetically because that is how you're going to be able to set boundaries and stick to them. I'm sure you all have heard, you can't love others until you learn to love yourself. And you can't really do that until you know what it is you value and you know what it is you stand for. So if you do struggle with self-care or self-love, maybe that exercise of just identifying what it is that makes you happy and what you believe in can help foster some of that love within yourself. So continuing to, participate in a spiritual practice, something that helps you to feel grounded. One thing that I like to do is celebrate minor holidays and celebrate the seasons. So I like to celebrate during the 4 seasons, when the weather is changing and trees are growing and sprouting or dying and decaying. I really just enjoy celebrating all that nature has to offer. Something, if you are gardening, especially outside, but you can do it with container gardening as well, planting by the moon and the moon schedule. That is not, that is something that you can think about as far as astrology goes, but it's something that farmers have used for a long, long time. You can find out more about it with with the Farmer's Almanac. And there's tons of resources online, and I may even do a podcast episode related to that if there are enough people interested. So really what I want you to keep in mind is that you're awesome, first of all, and don't let anybody in a quote position of power tell you how the world is supposed to be and how you're supposed to hustle or how you're supposed to be productive or, how you're supposed to love yourself even. Self-care and self-love looks different for everyone. So here's to breaking out of the matrix, and thank you for joining today. Again, very first episode. I am so grateful. If you have any questions, please send me a message. I would love to hear some feedback on the show. I know that ratings and reviews are how people can find this episode. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, share with your friends, and let me know. All right, have a good one. Bye. Thank you so much for pressing play today. If today's chat inspired the audacity in you, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And be sure to leave a rating and review on iTunes to spread the love and help more people find the show. If you aren't already, be sure to follow me on social media so we can connect. Just choose your preferred platform. My links are all down below. Have a beautiful day, friends.